It's really my pleasure to introduce Manny Medina.
Thank you, Raul. I tell you, introduction like that, and I promise you it's all downhill from here. Right? So, it's a real honor for me to be here this morning. I learned a lot about the Miami Finance Forum today and its mission and what you guys do, and it's commendable because, as far as continuously making the world understand the importance of Miami as a finance center kind of segues right into everything that we're trying to do. And what I'm going to try to do here today is, you heard it all. Nancy's certainly written about it long enough. I mean, Cecile is written around in the South Florida Business Journal about this whole movement of creating Miami as a technology hub. Even though we executed the Napa of the Americas, was the first time that we as a region, from Palm Beach all the way down, came together to create this technology hub in Miami. And it was, people think it was a natural. It should have been in Miami all along, but the competition was fierce. We had 20-some bidders. I mean, Atlanta was vying for it, Carolinas, Texas, because today it seems like a natural that we should have been there. But anyways, all of that happened. It happened right at the end of 1999, 2000, and then these companies began following, and then of course history came, and the bubble burst, the telecommunications industry imploded, ending up with September 11th. Wall Street was out to lunch. A lot of these companies were either bankrupt or acquired or disappeared. So that movement was actually kind of gone. The movement at the time, starting with like the Internet Coast, which is this regional movement of us being able to attract these companies. So it's not unprecedented, and this almost happened had it not been for this incredible meltdown that happened, right? On the other hand, it's one of the biggest challenges today is cybersecurity because of those same opportunities, right? And the cyber world, the world that we live in, it's a very dangerous world. Nothing had brought the cyber issues to the forefront of anybody. Now, because everybody talked about Target and everybody talked about JP, all these breaches that we've read about, like the Sony attack. I typically spoke in panels and industry talking about cyber. And for example, I was in New York before the Sony attack, and a panel member from the audience, actually a finance audience, said, "But what's the big deal? I mean, Target, it cost them a couple of $100 million. This is even a rounding errors. So what matters, right?" So the point that I'm making here, that every time there was a breach, everybody wanted something, meaning they wanted to steal your personal identification, they wanted to steal money, they wanted to steal, military secrets. There was a purpose for the attack. The Sony attack was a vicious attack. Forget about North Korea. It was a vicious attack that all of a sudden the boardrooms, the level intensity grew to the point where, oh my God, what does that mean? Yes, you cannot put a dollar quantity on this attack because we're being flooded. I mean, inundated with requests and, with et cetera. So we're going to be tracking actual numbers and getting methodology to get the actual number. But I'm telling you, from the point of view of startup, and particularly Latin America and Europe-based, we've been pretty much overwhelmed. And I think that's another opportunity for those of you providing financing, for those of you, there's still, and some of my banker friends here, and some of you have heard me say, there's a gigantic opportunity for a financial institution in Miami to become the tech bank. We, technology, Medina Capital, all our companies, who do we bank this with? Silicon Valley Bank. Because the banks here don't speak the language, right?
Good morning, my name is JP Trujillo. I'm a partner with KPMG and a longtime board member of the Miami Finance Forum. Manny is at the forefront of turning this city into the technology capital of the Americas. And we have a distinguished group of venture capitalists, entrepreneurs, and bankers to tackle the issues and opportunities that lie ahead of us in reaching that goal. The panel will be moderated by Ranjini Chandrakathan, who leads the technology practice at Cassell Salpeter, one of the most established middle market investment banks in Miami.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the first discussion. It was a great kickoff into what's happening here in Miami and in the tech scene. It's amazing. Last year we had our first technology conference. In the last year we had a $500 million investment, the third largest company to get a Series A round, the largest Series A round in the United States. And we've also seen a surge of incubators, new venture capitalists coming into town, and accelerators. And so all this begs the question, is Miami the next technology investing hub?
Yes, hello, good morning. My name's John Turbovich. I'm a co-founder and managing director with Arsenal Venture Partners. We're a multi stage venture capital firm with 4 offices around the country, Silicon Valley, 2 in the Midwest, and our headquarters is up in Winter Park, Florida. Or South Florida is by far the leader. It's growing, and it's an organic movement. It will not be overnight. It has to be sustained.
I'm Celine Armstrong. I work at S&P Capital IQ, which is a financial information data and analytics company. Our parent company is McGraw-Hill Financial. I work in the investment banking product and content group. So I was formerly an investment banker, and I covered media and technology and information businesses for about 14 years. And then I moved over to work at S&P Capital IQ. So I certainly have sort of the perspective of the users, many of the finance professionals in this room, and the sort of information that you need to understand the technology market, to understand what's going on, how should I spend my time. As it pertains to Miami, I think that it was very, very interesting earlier when we had the conversation about, what are the key ingredients you need for a technology hub, what needs to be in place. And I think what's going to be very interesting is many of the key ingredients you already have. And the question is, when is the velocity of some of them going to sort of catch up to the other, such that you have that base of all the ingredients at the same time? I don't think you need all of them to come together at the same time, but I certainly see a lot of the key needs that you have right already.
My name's Brad Harrison. I'm the founder and managing partner of Scout Ventures. We recently opened an office in Miami. We announced our first deal in Miami called Live Ninja. This morning we're announcing our first investment in Rocker Labs and strategic partnership.
Melissa, you've been in the market for a long time. You've seen the incubators come and go. I'm curious how that changes the ecosystem here in Miami.
Well, I guess what I would say about the incubators and the accelerators, first of all, it's become blurry as to what's what. And here in Miami, we actually, I don't think, have a true accelerator model or a true incubator model. There's hybrids, and people have invented on top of that. But what I would say is it's different. The value proposition is different if you're an investor versus if you're an entrepreneur. If you're an investor, I really look at it from the perspective of that there's a larger supply of toned athletes. So if you're an investor, would you wind up going to a gym for 3 months and just training on your own and investing in that person who's training on their own? Or would you go to a gym and invest in the person who's had a daily trainer? You want somebody who's had that daily training, and that's what these accelerators do, is that they provide the extra strength, the extra training, the extra discipline for the entrepreneurs.
You mentioned Procter & Gamble in the deal. Maybe I could ask you a question about corporates and investing and co-investing and getting some innovation in their companies. It's been happening for a very long time, but some things have changed. What have you seen in the market?
I think as in Miami especially, the corporate innovation scene is slow to take off. But like Manny was mentioning earlier, the disruptive forces that are coming at them are really forcing them to try and look at alternative options to their internal innovation teams, which don't work, right? So like Manny was talking about, there's going to be 3 billion new people accessing the internet over the next few years. This doesn't just represent trillions of dollars in terms of spending power. These are 3 billion new people that are going to be innovators. They're going to be disruptors. They're going to be the guys that are sitting in their garage, and not in California, but in Bombay or in Nairobi, who are going to come up with technology and solutions that are going to disrupt your business, and you're not going to see it coming, right? They're starting to get that message, and we're starting to see, especially locally, companies basically come to us to outsource their innovation.
So with no further ado, let me turn the program over to Alex and her esteemed group of panelists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julie. And welcome to the forum. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you very much to our panel members. Today's discussion is going to focus on the technology and the trends in the media sector and how Miami's media industry is really positioning itself in the digital age for both growth and investment opportunities. And I think in today's panel, in talking to them in advance, you're really going to hear some interesting trends about the decisions they're making and how they're positioning themselves and opportunities for all of us in our community. I want to start off with Victor. Cisneros Interactive, headquartered here in Miami. You could have been in New York, LA. Tell us your strategy as a media company and why Miami was a critical decision point for being located here.
Well, Cisneros, I joined Cisneros about 3 years ago, but the truth is Cisneros, the headquarters, were here before. And I think it gives you the story why they were here is actually, it shows sort of the importance of media. Remember Cisneros, you talked about the importance of the US Hispanic market. And Cisneros was one of the founders of Univision back in 1990. And at that time, Univision was in LA, but when Cisneros invested, Univision, all the production of Univision came to Miami.
Nathaniel, you just finished closing Sapien Nitro on buying La Comunidad, which was yet again named one of the top 10 best agencies in the US by Ad Age. What was your strategy behind this acquisition, and is it going to make changes in terms of what you're doing here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, La Comunidad, actually, we were finally named on the Ad Age A-list, I should say. Very proud of having done that. But we acquired La Comunidad because there's an increasing need for, transcultural marketing, and the idea that, culture impacts creativity in a country like ours right now, and the blend of cultures makes it an incredible creative territory to try to own, and it's very difficult to own it because it really depends on the actual people you hire and where they come from and how they grew up and the cultures that they can feed into the work that we do. So it was, a lot of a creative move because La Comunidad was known for some amazing campaigns, and my job was to infuse digital within La Comunidad and kind of grow the portfolio there. But again, recognizing a small player that was extremely successful because of their cultural roots, and a lot of that is because they were in Miami and the kinds of people that Miami is able to attract in and out in collaboration with other offices in Argentina or Brazilian counterparts. Miami is truly in a place to be able to attract this talent and create teams like La Comunidad, which then become really interesting for large organizations like Sapien.
So there's been a lot of talk about Miami becoming the Hispanic Hollywood. I want to turn that over to you,
Sure,
Derek.
yeah, I mean, we're seeing for the first time that there's a real sort of epicenter of Hollywood Latina happening here right now in this business. We're seeing casting choices here. We're having talent choices here when it comes to directors and producers. We're seeing studios pop up. We're actually in the middle. I'm with the Mahina US now, and we're actually opening up a brand new 57,000 foot square facility in Medellin, and it's going to be open in about a month. It'll have 4 studios in there because we're seeing such an influx of these types of productions taking place, whether it be for the 3 major broadcasters right now that happen to be in Miami, which is Telemundo, Univision, and Unimás. We also see now Azteca's operating out of Miami a bit now, and we see that being the future play. Outside of that, we've had a huge influx on the cable side. We're launching tons of new cable channels. Currently at Imagina, we're operating ESPN, DirecTV, some of their operations, and we have BN Sports.
We have our studios actually next to Imagina Studios, and again, I think you're right, because nowadays there's so much talent, and we're not talking about the actors, we're talking about everyone behind
Everybody else.
Well, everyone is needed.
Exactly.
Behind and in the scenes. And it plays very well for digital because, I mean, you produce, you have all those installations that are, massive investments in infrastructure. And the fact that we can actually use that, it's there, that we can use it digitally. And granted, I mean, digital today that doesn't monetize as well as TV. I mean, there's no secret in that. I mean, things are changing very fast. But the fact that we can leverage that TV infrastructure into digital productions, it's great. And I think that's the only way you can capture the quality that Peter, for example, showed.
Please join me in welcoming Matt Hagman, a friend and partner of the Miami Finance Forum and our community.
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for staying for one last talk today. I'll try to go pretty quickly. I know you're just digesting lunch, but I wanted to take this opportunity to try and sort of give some idea about what we've been thinking about as we ask the question that sort of this conference has been talking about around sort of mapping Miami's future and financial future, what we've been doing at Knight Foundation and thinking about that and sort of asking the question, sort of what's that sort of next step, right, for our city. As we sort of think about sort of mapping Miami's financial future. Really what we think this really is sort of hinges on is sort of building the network, right? That is building this sort of environment that has multiple centers of gravity, that is not sort of linear, you start here and go here, but sort of building this place that provides opportunities and resources for entrepreneurs at all stages, right? To sort of network that we've been trying to build with different supports and resources connections to solve his particular problems, right? And the thought is that we want to build a network that provides lots of variety, going back to that subway map, lots of ways to sort of enter and exit, right? To sort of solve your particular problem, and then hopefully resulting in you sort of seeing Miami as sort of the best and most awesome place to do to pursue the ideas that you wish to pursue.